I walked into the office that Monday morning, coffee in hand, only to be met with an uncomfortable silence. My boss, Mr. Keller, was already standing by my desk with a frown. He asked why the quarterly financial report hadn't been turned in, even though I knew I had submitted it on Friday afternoon before leaving. If you enjoy workplace drama stories, stick around and let me know in the comments if you've ever had something similar happen at your job. I quickly logged into my computer to show him the email receipt, but the file was gone. Not just from my inbox, completely missing from the company drive as well. Panic started to creep in. That report wasn't just any document, it was the one that determined our department's budget for the next year. 2 desks away sat Amanda, a coworker who always had her eye on the promotion I was working toward. She gave me the faintest smile when she saw me sweating under Mr. Keller's stare. My gut told me this wasn't just an accident. Mr. Keller gave me until the end of the day to find the missing report. If I couldn't, he said, my future in the company would be in question. But the real shock was what I found when I started digging into the system logs. By lunchtime, the tension in the office was thick enough to cut through. People had clearly heard that my report had gone missing, because every time I walked past a cluster of desks, the chatter died down. It felt like all eyes were on me. I overheard 2 colleagues whispering near the break room. One of them said, "I heard the finance guy lost the report on purpose, maybe to cover his mistakes." The other chuckled and replied, "Or maybe he's not as good as everyone thinks." My chest tightened. This wasn't just about a missing file anymore, it was about my reputation. What made it worse was that Amanda seemed to be fanning the flames. She strolled into the break room and, loud enough for half the floor to hear, said, "Well, if someone can't handle the responsibility, maybe management should consider giving the project to someone who can." She didn't mention me by name, but everyone knew who she was talking about. I wanted to confront her right then and there, but I knew it would only make me look defensive. Instead, I decided to keep digging into the system. There had to be some trace of who accessed the files over the weekend. That's when I noticed something unusual, a login recorded at midnight on Saturday from my account. But I was at home asleep. The system log stared back at me, my username, my credentials, logged in at 12:07 a.m. on Saturday. My stomach sank. If anyone else saw this, it would look like I had deleted my own report. But I knew for a fact I had been at home, watching a movie with my roommate at the time. I rushed to IT support, hoping they could verify whether it was a real login or some kind of system glitch. The technician, James, pulled up more detailed records. His brow furrowed as he said, "This wasn't just a login. Someone downloaded the report, then wiped it from the shared drive. And it was done on site, from your workstation." My workstation? I shook my head. I don't even have office access on weekends. Badge scans are required for entry. That's when James gave me a sympathetic look and said, "Well, the system says your badge was used to enter the building." The walls felt like they were closing in. Not only was the missing report tied to me, but now physical evidence suggested I had been in the office. If I couldn't prove otherwise, I'd be finished. I called my roommate to back up my alibi, but something in his hesitant voice made my pulse quicken. Because he wasn't as certain about Saturday night as I thought. I barely slept that night, replaying the events in my head. The next morning, I decided to comb through my inbox again, desperate for any clue. Buried deep in my sent items, I found something I swear I never wrote, an email addressed to Mr. Keller with the quarterly report attached, sent late Saturday night. The message was brief and odd, "Here's the updated version, as requested." I froze. Mr. Keller hadn't asked me for any update. And the wording didn't sound like me at all. But the email was sent from my account. Someone had gone beyond just deleting files, they were impersonating me. I walked straight to Mr. Keller's office to ask if he'd received it. He looked at me suspiciously and said, "Yes, I got that email, but the attachment was corrupted. It wouldn't open. Are you telling me that wasn't you?" My heart pounded as I insisted that it wasn't. He leaned back, arms crossed, clearly doubting me. "If you can't get your story straight, I'll have no choice but to escalate this to HR," he warned. I returned to my desk, hands shaking, when I noticed Amanda at her computer. She quickly minimized a window as I passed by, almost too quickly. And for the first time, I wondered if she had more access to my account than I realized. Then, an unexpected message popped up in my inbox, an anonymous warning. The anonymous email was short and unsettling, "Watch your back. Someone wants you out before the promotion list is finalized." No name, no signature, just that cryptic warning. My pulse raced. The timing made too much sense. Next week, Mr. Keller was set to announce who would move up to senior analyst. It was between me and Amanda. The office gossip mill was already in full swing. At lunch, I overheard a group debating whether Amanda had the upper hand now that my mistake had come to light. One person even said, "She's been putting in late hours. Maybe she deserves it more than him." Meanwhile, Amanda was suddenly the picture of helpfulness, bringing Mr. Keller coffee, volunteering for extra tasks, even smiling sweetly at HR when they walked by. It was all too convenient. I couldn't shake the feeling that the warning email was connected to her, but I had no proof. Still, the idea that someone might be framing me just to secure a promotion made my stomach churn. That evening, I stayed late to scan through access logs again. And just as I was about to give up, I found something odd, an overlap between Amanda's badge swipe and the suspicious midnight login. If I could tie those two together, I might finally have a lead. The next day, I pulled the latest budget draft from our shared finance folder, just to compare against my missing report. At first glance, everything looked normal, but then I spotted small discrepancies in the numbers. Line items were slightly inflated, certain costs duplicated, and projected revenue shaved down by just enough to make our department look weaker than it actually was. Someone hadn't just deleted my report. They had altered the data to shift the outcome. If management saw these numbers, they'd think I was careless or even incompetent. Worse, it could cost the department thousands of dollars in lost budget. I printed out a hard copy of my original draft from an older backup on my personal drive and placed it side by side with the corrupted version. The differences were subtle, but deliberate. This wasn't a mistake, it was sabotage. As I flipped through the pages, I noticed a pattern. Every adjustment conveniently supported Amanda's proposal from last quarter, the one that had been rejected because mine was stronger. My throat tightened. I needed proof that these changes weren't mine. So I went back to James in IT, hoping he could trace the edits. He glanced over the metadata and frowned. "This file wasn't last modified from your machine," he said. And then he gave me the name of the workstation where it had been altered. By noon, my anxiety had reached a fever pitch. I rushed over to IT to see the workstation James had flagged. My heart sank when I realized it belonged to Amanda. Every altered line, every subtle change that made me look incompetent, had been made from her desk. I couldn't believe it. She had framed me for a missing report, manipulated the budget numbers, and even sent that fake email from my account. It was a perfect setup. If anyone doubted her competence, she would appear as the overachieving, helpful employee, while I looked careless and unreliable. I wanted to confront her immediately, but I knew better. If I stormed into her office without concrete proof, Mr. Keller might just see it as me being paranoid. I needed irrefutable evidence. James suggested checking the building's badge logs, just to make sure Amanda hadn't brought in a friend to cover her tracks. I agreed, and we pored over the data. It was worse than I expected. Not only was Amanda logged in that night, but there was a second badge scan from an unknown employee, someone who wasn't in HR or finance. I realized I wasn't just dealing with Amanda anymore, someone else was helping her cover the tracks. My stomach churned as I considered the possibilities. Whoever this accomplice was, they were careful, patient, and probably very skilled at covering their digital footprints. And just when I thought the nightmare couldn't get any more complicated, a new email arrived in my inbox, with an attachment labeled proof. I hesitated for a moment before opening the email. The attachment was a PDF showing a badge scan from the weekend, my badge being used to access the office at the exact time I had been at home. But what caught my eye was the photo from the security camera. It wasn't me. The person using my badge was Amanda, wearing a hoodie pulled low over her face. I leaned back, trying to process what I was seeing. This was solid evidence that she had physically impersonated me to cover her digital tracks. It explained the midnight login, the deleted files, and the corrupted email she had sent to Mr. Keller. I finally had proof, but it was still risky. I couldn't just storm into HR with this. Amanda would deny everything, and without the security logs backing me up, it would still come down to he said she said. I made a copy of the PDF and photo and sent it to James. He promised to extract full metadata and confirm timestamps to strengthen the case. My hands were shaking, but I felt a surge of relief. Karma might finally catch up with her. At that moment, my phone buzzed. Another email had arrived, this one with the subject line, "We know what you're doing." My stomach dropped. It was from an anonymous account, but I had a feeling Amanda had somehow gotten wind that I was gathering evidence. I realized I had only minutes to act before she could cover her tracks again. I spent the rest of the afternoon in the conference room with James, laying out every piece of evidence we had collected. Badge scans, server logs, corrupted emails, and the PDF from the anonymous sender. Each thread was connected, but I needed to create a timeline that clearly showed Amanda's actions from Friday night through Monday morning. As we worked, patterns started to emerge. Amanda had logged in remotely multiple times over the weekend, each time from a workstation that wasn't hers. She had deleted my original report, uploaded the corrupted version, and sent the fake email to Mr. Keller. Her attempts to manipulate the budget numbers were deliberate, with each edit lining up perfectly with her promotion proposal. The unknown accomplice from the badge scan remained a mystery, but James theorized it could have been an internal contractor with access privileges. Whoever it was, they were likely coordinating with Amanda to make sure she stayed a step ahead. I realized I couldn't confront Amanda alone. This had to go through HR, backed by irrefutable evidence. If I tried to take matters into my own hands, it could backfire and make me look guilty instead. By the time the office was empty, I had a plan. I would compile the timeline, screenshots, and PDFs, then schedule a private meeting with HR first thing tomorrow. Every detail had to be airtight, no room for doubt. And as I shut down my computer, I noticed a sticky note on my monitor that hadn't been there before: "Better watch yourself." I stayed behind in the office long after everyone had left, determined to gather every last bit of evidence. That's when I saw Amanda standing near the exit, pretending to check her phone. My blood boiled, but I kept my voice calm as I approached her. "I know what you did, Amanda," I said quietly. Her eyes widened, but she quickly masked it with a smirk. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her tone too casual to be convincing. I pulled out the PDF from the badge scan and the screenshots of the corrupted report. This. All of it. The midnight login, the fake email, the altered budget numbers. "You impersonated me and tried to ruin my promotion." Amanda's smile faltered. "You don't have proof it was me. Anyone could have used that badge." I leaned closer. "The security camera captured you. And the system logs trace every action to your workstation. You thought you could cover it up, but James has all the metadata ready for HR." For a moment, she looked genuinely panicked. Then she straightened up, putting on her confident mask again. "Fine. Let's see how HR interprets your little evidence. Maybe they'll believe you." I knew confrontation wasn't the endgame. The real fight would happen tomorrow, with HR present and no room for her to manipulate the story. But as I left the building that night, a gnawing sense of anticipation kept me awake. Would justice finally be served, or would she twist the narrative once more? The next morning, I walked into HR's office, carrying a thick folder with every piece of evidence meticulously organized. The HR manager, Ms. Thompson, listened carefully as I explained the sequence of events, from the missing report to the altered budget numbers and Amanda's midnight impersonation. She nodded thoughtfully, taking notes. "We'll need to verify everything," she said. "James, please provide the metadata and badge scans." James joined the meeting via Teams, sharing screen after screen of timestamps, workstation logs, and security camera stills. Each piece confirmed what I had discovered. Amanda was called in shortly after. She entered with her usual calm, but I noticed her hands shaking ever so slightly. Ms. Thompson laid out the evidence, and for the first time, Amanda's confident demeanor cracked. She tried to explain it away, blaming system glitches, claiming she was helping cover an IT error, but the logs were damning. Every action, every unauthorized login, traced back to her workstation and her badge. After an hour of questioning, HR concluded there was a clear case of deliberate misconduct. Amanda's promotion was immediately put on hold, and an internal investigation was launched to determine whether disciplinary action, including termination, would follow. I finally exhaled, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. But the relief was tempered by a nagging thought: was there still someone else involved? The mysterious accomplice from the badge scan? Over the next few days, the office buzzed with whispers. Amanda was restricted from accessing sensitive systems, and the investigation made it clear that her actions were deliberate. Some colleagues avoided her completely, while others quietly congratulated me on handling the situation professionally. Despite the chaos, I noticed a shift in the team's morale. People became more cautious about their own work and more supportive of each other. Meetings were structured, emails double-checked, and everyone seemed to understand that shortcuts and sabotage came with consequences. Mr. Keller pulled me aside one afternoon. "You handled this very well," he said. "Not only did you protect yourself, but you saved the department from what could have been a financial disaster." His acknowledgement made the tension of the past week feel worthwhile. Yet, the mysterious second badge scan still lingered in my mind. IT assured me it had been a contractor with temporary access, but no further evidence of involvement surfaced. The accomplice remained unknown, a shadowy figure in the background. I realized that while I had justice on my side, vigilance at work was more important than ever. Trust needed to be earned, and even those who seemed reliable could surprise you. As I sat back at my desk, I felt a mix of exhaustion and relief, but the office drama wasn't quite over yet. Just when I thought the worst was behind me, an unexpected email appeared in my inbox. The subject line read, "Urgent, reassignment." My heart sank as I opened it. The company was relocating me to a different project team temporarily, without explanation. Confused, I called Mr. Keller. "It's not a punishment," he said quickly. "But HR wants to make sure there's no conflict of interest while the investigation wraps up. You're still in good standing." Still, whispers started circulating again. Amanda had been surprisingly quiet, but the rumor mill suggested she was already lobbying for a transfer to a new department, hoping to escape scrutiny. It was strange to think that even after being caught, she was trying to maneuver for advantage. Meanwhile, I noticed a small group of coworkers huddled near the printer, whispering urgently. When I approached, one of them dropped a bombshell. They had seen Amanda meeting with a former employee who had recently left the company under mysterious circumstances. Could this be the accomplice behind the second badge scan? It was becoming clear that the drama was bigger than just Amanda's sabotage. There were hidden connections, shadowy collaborations, and secrets I had yet to uncover. The promotion race, the missing report, and the budget manipulation were only the tip of the iceberg. I realized that if I wanted full closure, I would need to dig deeper, and fast. A week later, HR concluded their full investigation. Amanda's actions had been meticulously documented: unauthorized badge access, file deletion, falsified emails, and budget tampering. The final decision was swift: she was suspended pending termination, and her promotion bid was permanently revoked. The office atmosphere shifted instantly. Colleagues who had been hesitant to speak up now openly praised the transparency of the process. The finance team's trust in me strengthened, and even Mr. Keller made a point to recognize my professionalism under pressure. The best part? Amanda's allies quietly distanced themselves once it became clear she had lost credibility. Her attempts to manipulate outcomes and build secret alliances backfired completely. It was a textbook example of karma in action. Scheming and sabotage led only to her own downfall. I received a formal acknowledgement from HR, ensuring my role and integrity were protected. The mysterious second badge scan turned out to be an internal contractor who had unknowingly assisted Amanda. HR updated security protocols to prevent such breaches in the future, closing the chapter on the ordeal. As I walked through the office that morning, everyone's smiles and nods reminded me that doing the right thing, even when it's stressful and scary, ultimately pays off. Amanda's downfall was a stark warning, but also a reassurance: integrity matters more than short-term gain. The ordeal left me exhausted but wiser. Some battles aren't just about winning, they're about proving who you truly are. Looking back, the whole episode taught me more than I ever expected. Office politics, hidden agendas, and underhanded tactics are part of any workplace, but integrity, diligence, and patience can turn the tide. I realized the importance of documenting every action, keeping backups, and staying calm under pressure. I also learned to trust my instincts. The warning signs were there from the beginning: Amanda's sudden friendliness, the late-night login, the suspicious badge scan. Listening to those gut feelings allowed me to act before the situation spiraled completely out of control. By the time everything settled, the department had regained its stability, my reputation was intact, and the lessons learned were invaluable. I even gained a new appreciation for IT and HR. Their support was critical, and without them, proving the truth would have been nearly impossible. Workplace drama is inevitable, but it doesn't define you. How you respond, strategically, ethically, and thoughtfully, does. Amanda faced the consequences of her choices, and I walked away with something more valuable than any promotion: credibility, respect, and the knowledge that doing the right thing truly matters. Every now and then, I catch myself double-checking badge scans or file permissions, but now, it's out of awareness, not paranoia.